All right. You're seeing NBA and money, which means that we're going to be talking about free agency. Now you're seeing two people, me, my main guy, Mike Molyneaux, me, Jet Stryer. I mean, you're on my YouTube channel, so you should know that. But I should also introduce myself. That's professional.
True.
How's it going, Mike? Nice to see you.
Good to see you as always, Jet, man. I'm hanging in there. Hope you're doing good as yourself.
Yeah, I'm hanging in there, like you're saying. I'm getting to the point now where, everything's kind of shutting down again. So my hair is kind of getting a little Jufro-y again. So I might have to do the in-house wife gives me a haircut thing again, which I was not expecting to happen again. But she doesn't do a terrible job. The only problem is I get like a buzz cut, right? And for some reason, when I go to the haircut place, it takes 5 minutes. But when she does it, it takes an hour and 5 minutes. So
she's not a professional. She's just not a professional. That's all.
No, she's not. But it's a buzz cut. It shouldn't be that complicated.
I hear you.
But anyways,
I do not want to go back to the scruffy, wild hair look. I can't do it. I can't. But
have you gotten a haircut since the pandemic started?
Yeah, I've gotten a haircut once. It was like
at a place.
At a place, like once it was okay to like go to a barber shop or something. I definitely went. I waited a little bit, but then, starting to see people come back out with nice hairstyles and nice hair. I said, okay, I can't do this to myself anymore. So I made my way, but it could be headed down that route again.
What's the longest it got?
I started having like legit curls in my head, like legit curls that I would use a sponge to curl my hair, and it started poking out. It got pretty wild, but I don't like the look at all.
My hair, there's a problem with my hair is that instead of like, it won't go down. It just goes up and out like Kyle from South Park. If you ever seen like him without his hat on,
yeah.
It's like, it's just the most obvious. This guy is clearly Jewish hair in the entire world. And I can't pull off like the long hair look. I had long hair in high school. And I go back and look at pictures and I'm like, man, what was I doing? And I also had a soul patch too.
Oh,
so
wow.
This is a bad combo. It's a bad combo. I wonder why I didn't do well with women in high school. But we're not here to talk about hairstyles. We're here to talk about NBA free agency, which has been like a literal whirlwind of activity, nonstop news since the day it started. I mean, literally, you're refreshing Twitter and you're getting 15 to 20 new tweets every second about somebody going somewhere or some team doing something. So before we get into the Celtics, which is what I know both of us really want to talk about, and based off of our tweets and based off of a really angry 8-tweet thread that I sent, which is by far the longest thread of Twitter I've ever done, but I needed to have it out there because I was so mad. For that, there's been a lot of exciting stuff going around the league, and I know we both love the NBA, so I just wanted to play this game with you where I get a rapid reaction of free agent signings and what grades you would give them. If you want to give them a grade, A, B, C, D, F, or you could go, the traditional 1 through 10, whatever you prefer is really, it's up to you there. So I have a list on realgm.com,
okay.
which is if you've never used RealGM,
great website.
It's a great website for any basketball fan, or they do other sports too. So they have a list of what they say, and you should be able to see it right now. Can you see it? Did I do it correctly?
I can see it.
All right. We are on the list. So we're just going to go quickly based off of the people who've signed. I want you to not think about it, just react. So they had Fred VanVleet as their number 3. Fred VanVleet signed with the Raptors, re-signed with the Raptors. I should say 4 years, $85 million deal. Good deal, bad deal. What would you give it for a grade?
I'd give that grade. Now, are we basing it off of team needs or player desires? Like
for the team, not for the player.
For the team. All right. For the
team.
Players
pretty much, I think we can agree, all did well.
Okay.
for the most part, they've all made out well.
True. That's very true. Everyone's getting big bucks, so it doesn't really matter. But for the team and for the Raptors, I give it a solid, I give that a B. Because, the way I look at Fred VanVleet, it's like, his role in Toronto, he and the team, the coaching staff, they carved it out perfectly. And I understand within his role, he did very well in Toronto. And I'm not sure if he would have been able to just jump right in and fit into a similar role on another team. I mean, I'm sure teams would have tried to make it work if they went after VanVleet, but I think the team was comfortable what he brought to the table in that role. Especially in times where Kyle Lowry was out of the lineup, he definitely stepped up big. And even when Kyle Lowry returned to the lineup, I think their starting backcourt was VanVleet and Lowry, if I'm not mistaken. That definitely was their starting lineup, I believe, against the Celtics in the playoffs. So I give it a B. VanVleet's not like an all-star player or anything, but within his role, he's their Marcus Smart in a sense.
Yeah.
He's their smart.
He's better than I thought he was because, you watch the Raptors a little bit on national TV, but then you have a 7-game series against them.
Yep.
And you realize he does everything well. He's a little undersized, but he defends really well for his position. He knocks down threes. He knocks down timely threes. I think it would have been crushing to the Raptors to lose him because of sort of like what he brings to the team. And he's clearly a leader of that squad now too. The Raptors are in a tough spot in that they're in the kind of the NBA's no man's land and that they're a good team. They've lost some major free agents that we'll get into in a second, but they're nowhere near competing for a title. They're also nowhere near competing for a bottom draft pick. So it doesn't seem like they really picked a direction here with VanVleet. They could have gone full on tank mode. I think they're going to try to stay competitive, but it's going to be tough for them unless they're able to find a way to get another star around VanVleet and obviously Pascal Siakam, who was, of all those guys you talked about in the Raptors series, was the least impressive of the guys that you would worry about. He had a rough series against the Celtics, so
definitely did.
It's clearly shown that him and VanVleet, that's a nice 1-2, and Lowry's getting older and he's still good, but they need another star there if they're hoping to compete for a title. So you like the VanVleet signing? I give it a B. Okay, here's one that I know we're gonna go back to this one. So this is just like an early preview. The number 4 free agent on Real GM's poll was Gordon Hayward. We know he signed with the Hornets after hemming and hawing about the Celtics. 4 years, $120 million. Because it's Hayward and it affects the Celtics, I want you to give a grade for the Hornets and for the player. Just curious.
For the Hornets, I give them a C. It's average because when I look at this move, Gordon Hayward, I know Boston fans have hated on Gordon Hayward for the last 3 years. But at the end of the day, the player, Gordon Hayward, healthy player, solid. I was never upset at what he brought to the table. And I'm sure healthy Gordon Hayward can bring that to the table for Michael Jordan and the Charlotte Hornets. But that's a lot of damn money that they gave that man. A lot of damn money. And maybe, they're expecting Hayward to show up and be Utah Gordon Hayward or be, the Gordon Hayward we thought we were getting in Boston. But his track record has shown, he can't stay healthy. And, you shouldn't be looking to depend on Gordon Hayward to be your top star or even your number 2 star. I think he's the number 3 guy, if anything, right now. But Charlotte, the Hornets are looking for anything right now to help elevate that organization. And, they're going to try to make it work with him. I just think Jordan gave that man a lot of money for the player who he's been as of late, the last 3 years with the Celtics.
Here's how I look at it from Charlotte's perspective. And I've seen a lot of people throwing around that's a bad contract. And it's too much for a guy who hasn't proven he can stay on the court in the past 3 years. He's just been injury after injury. That being said, Charlotte is never going to be really a free agent destination. So I don't think bad contracts really matter for a team like that because you're going to have to overpay for talent anyways. No one's going to come there unless you're overpaying what other teams are offering you. I read a report today saying the Pacers were going to go as high as $400 million, and the Celtics maybe were considering $400 million for him. So, $20 million, that's a big difference at the end of the day. And that's the kind of difference that I think a team like Charlotte, who's not usually competitive at all, is in a very small market that Hayward has no real connections to. Like in Boston, he had the connection to the coach. Indiana, obviously, he's from Indiana. They have to overpay for some talent. So I don't look at it as that bad of a contract for them because what else are they going to do with the cap space? they're not going to be able to sign if, say, Giannis is a free agent next year. He's never going to go play in Charlotte, never in a million years. When Anthony Davis was talking about getting traded, he wasn't talking about getting traded to Charlotte. LeBron, when he was making the decision, the Hornets were never on that list. So you kind of have to overpay for talent here. And the Hornets, unless they find in LaMelo Ball the next Oscar Robertson or something, they're probably not going to be competing for a championship anytime soon either. But at some point, you need to decide we're going to try to field a competitive team here and a team that will try to make the playoffs. And Gordon Hayward and whatever else they have on there, LaMelo Ball, whoever the hell else they're trotting out there in that lineup, Terry Rozier, Devontae Graham, they could sneak into an 8 seed. They could sneak into an 8 seed. And you know what? That's really good for fans of the Charlotte Hornets to make the playoffs and start building from there. Because losing every year and blowing draft picks, which is what Michael Jordan's shown to do as an owner, that's no way to operate a team. So I actually applaud Charlotte for going out and doing something, even though it's a bad contract that he's overpaid for. But for Charlotte, I honestly don't mind it that much. If it was the Celtics, you would have been like, wow, they really have now taken themselves out of signing another major free agent potentially. But for the Hornets, I don't have a bigger problem with it as other people. So, all right, so for the Hornets, I'd give it a B-. For Gordon Hayward, it's an A+, obviously.
True. Very true.
He cashed in. So that's an easy A+. He probably did the best of anybody in free agency. We're going to just do the top 10 because I don't want to, do a million people here.
I hear you.
Bogdanovich did a sign and trade. He's going to go to the Hawks, it's looking like, or an offer sheet. $72 million, 4 years. Good for the Hawks?
Great for the Hawks. Bogdanovich is a solid player. And, he had his issues with Sacramento last year because I feel like there might have been a little bit of a logjam issue with him and Buddy Hield at that.
Buddy Hield got really pissy about that.
Yeah, and Buddy Hield was upset. Bogdanovich was upset, but when he got minutes, he produced, and he can definitely fit most teams as their starting shooting guard. And a team like the Atlanta Hawks, they're building. You can see with the moves that they're making this offseason, they're building something there. I mean, they have a nice young core. I know there was possible talk of they have a lot of bigs, or maybe maybe they'll make a move to move John Collins, who I think he's on maybe the last year of his deal.
He's on the last year of his rookie deal.
Year of the deal. But I hope that they, for their sake, they keep John Collins with that little core there of Collins.
Yeah, I think he's a star. I really do. I don't get why he would be the odd man out there.
It makes no sense. But they have a nice young core there of Collins, Trae Young. They drafted Reddish. Another guy, the shooter, I forgot his name that I'm blanking on right now. But they have a nice, solid group of young players right now. Then they brought on some vets. And I mean, is Bogdanovich? Capella's there as well. Yep. Is Bogdanovich necessarily a veteran? No, but he's a guy who, with his years in the NBA, he's shown that he can produce, even if it was on a kind of a sorry team in Sacramento. Now, you're in the Eastern Conference. You're with the Atlanta Hawks, who have good pieces around you. He's easily going to slide right in there to be what I believe their starting shooting guard. And I think he'll excel, and I think it's a great pickup for Atlanta Hawks who are looking to make a splash. I can definitely see Atlanta as a playoff team in this next season with the moves that they're making, which starts with Bogdanovich as, probably their biggest signing in free agency.
I agree. I think it would be a huge disappointment if Atlanta doesn't make the playoffs this year. I think that, the fans, what little fans they have in Atlanta, which it's crazy because they've put together some entertaining team. This is, whether they're good or not, they're an entertaining team. I mean, Trae Young is really fun to watch play. John Collins, that's why I don't get why he would be the odd man out. I mean, he's the modern NBA big. He can shoot threes and dunk and block shots.
Defense,
and I don't know what else you're looking for there, but I think it would be really exciting to have a good Atlanta team, and that's a good young core there. There does seem to be sort of a logjam there at center because they drafted the kid from USC, Okongwu, So now they have Okongwu, Capella, Collins, which seems to be the opposite way of people are going in the NBA, but whatever they want to do there. I think that they should really compete for 7 or 6 seed. And if they don't make the playoffs, I think that that's a really, really disappointing season for them. So they had some money to burn. I think that's good. They spent it wisely. Bogdanović is a good player who most people don't know a lot about because he plays in basketball hell, which is Sacramento. Literally, the absolute, like, the Jets are the worst place to go if you're a pro in the NFL. It's Sacramento for the NBA. It's basketball purgatory. No one knows what you're doing there, and they are so terribly run. You have no chance of succeeding.
Yeah, and they didn't seem, I think with like the last year or two, they didn't seem like they were too far off from possibly being like an.
Well, then they fired their coach,
and they fired the coach. They fired,
and then they hired Luke Walton.
Like, I don't know what's going on in Sacramento.
I don't know what Luke Walton showed that people got excited about him being coach. How he's finagled his way into 2 jobs is beyond me.
Yeah,
but that's basketball hell. It's literally the absolute worst place. Also, I've been to Sacramento. It's boring as hell. Sorry to anybody who's listening who's from Sacramento. Sacramento absolutely sucks. It is absolute trash. There's nothing to do there. I mean, it's the capital of California because it's in the middle of California, not because there's exciting things to do there.
Wow.
So good for Bogdanović for getting the hell out of there. Everybody who's gotten the hell out of Sacramento has felt a lot better because of it. So moving on to Christian Wood, who a lot of Celtics fans wanted. He instead goes to the Rockets. 3 years, $41 million. Make heads or tails of anything the Rockets have done in the past month.
The Rockets, it's a very confusing situation in Houston because you know what? In all honesty, with their current team or core, I like that signing, Christian Wood. And I know during the D'Antoni era, they wanted to get away from using bigs and whatnot, which some people like it, some people did. I guess I'm too old school because I'm like, how are you going to have a whole team and not want to play any type of big or at least a stretch 4 or something like that? Their starting center was PJ Tucker, which is very confusing. I mean, I don't know.
He's not that much taller than you.
Exactly. And I figured D'Antoni's out the picture, they're going to bring in a whole new system. I'd assume they'd bring in have a whole new system with D'Antoni out the picture. And I thought Westbrook and Harden were buddies. Like now they don't want to play together anymore. Now that they don't think the future is bright in Houston, like you're talking about 2 MVP players on one team together, but now they want to go their separate ways. I figured, them 2 being the core players with a brand new system, you add the right supporting cast around them. You get Christian Wood, who, like you said, a lot of Celtics fans want him here because he's a big, play defense.
He beasted after Drummond left.
Once Drummond was out the picture, if anybody out there who does, fantasy basketball, if you picked up Christian Wood, you were blessed because he filled that void in Detroit, after Drummond left, and he was a hell of a player. And I think now you put him in a system with Harden and Westbrook, who go both guys who can score but also facilitate and move the ball around when they do. I mean, I know Harden and Westbrook both average like 10 assists a game and whatnot, but like
it's like fake assists. Yeah,
but they know how to move the ball in some way, shape, or form. And even if they're chucking up shots, you got Christian Wood down in the paint. I like the signing for Houston. But now that I don't know what Houston's going to look like because their star players want out, it's very. The picture over there is very murky in Houston, and who knows what it's going to look like at the start of the season or how the season's going to progress. But Christian Wood's a good signing for them.
Here's my problem with the whole Houston thing, just as an aside for what they have going on right now. I don't mind trade requests. That's fine if you want to be traded. What I hate is trade requests that say, trade me to this team. And that is every report I've read is that's what James Harden's doing. Trade me to the Nets. That drives me freaking crazy because one, it undercuts your value so much. It guarantees essentially that you're putting your own team that you're on now over a barrel, where the team that you're negotiating with, the Nets, saying, well, he's saying he'll only accept a trade here, so we're gonna give you 50 cents on the dollar. So if you really wanted to be traded to a certain team, shut the fuck up and let them do it behind the scenes. Because then your value is not public. That your view that I only will go to one team is not public. So I never understand that. It makes no sense to me. Secondly, I don't see that he's in a bad situation in Houston right now. I really don't see it. It could absolutely, that thing in Brooklyn could disintegrate quick.
Yes.
If it's Harden, Kyrie, and Durant. I know that Durant and Harden have played together before. That was like 2 versions of James Harden ago. And then you throw Kyrie Irving in the mix. And then you have Steve Nash, who's never coached anything in his life. He's coaching the team. It would be a weird, volatile mix. Listen, it could work. I have my doubts. But that being said, I really don't think Houston was that far away from being, a team that could be interesting. I think they ran out of gas in the bubble. And you ran into that Lakers buzzsaw that basically everybody ran into.
Their system was, I never liked D'Antoni's system. Like, you're not going to win a championship if your system is.
Hey, you put up great numbers, but you're not going to win. No.
Isolation basketball, like how Houston ran it throughout the course of the season or since D'Antoni's been there, it wasn't going to get them anywhere. Sure, you'll get to the playoffs, nice series here and there, but like, let's be honest, that type of style, James Harden and Westbrook, now that they had him last, wasn't going to carry them to a championship. But the players were there. The players were there to build an actual system, run some damn plays, and make things happen. But
yeah, it just, now they seem sort of directionless, that they don't necessarily know who's going to be there. Yeah. So they signed Christian Wood, which again, we both agree is a good player, but who else is he going to be around Harden or Westbrook? Is he going to be around just one of them? Neither. So they don't seem to know what they're doing. And it's okay to spend money on a good player, but it doesn't seem like they have any sort of plan. So they're one of the teams I think is going to be most interesting to keep an eye on because they have 2 guys who won out. They happen to be their 2 best players. And it could, really shake up the course of the league if they go to a team that's a contending team. I kind of want to see the Westbrook for John Wall straight up trade, just because it's so sort of pointless that they're basically the same player, except for Wall hasn't played in like 5 years.
Pretty much.
I do actually think the Wizards could be interesting with Westbrook and Beal potentially, and Bertrands now.
I'm telling you one thing, Jet. If there's one guy who hates Westbrook and his style of play, I lead that charge.
And our friend John Sapichetti also hates Russell Westbrook. I will say this, and this isn't going to make any sense. I love Russell Westbrook's style of play. I did not want him on the Celtics at all.
Oh, hell no.
So go figure that one out. I love watching the guy. I didn't want him anywhere near the Celtics. I don't know that he can win. You can win with.
He will never. I'll say it.
I don't know that you can.
He'll never win a championship with his mentality. If that doesn't change, he'll never win anything in the NBA.
I actually think the best version of him and the chance that he has to go furthest in the playoffs is he's surrounded by shit, like really bad talent, and just does everything because he can make bad players better, and he can just try to go for 50 every night. And I think he's good enough to elevate a bad team past where they should go. But if he's to play on a team with expectations and another star, yeah, they're probably not going anywhere. I mean, it's hard to say definitively because Harden's so good too that this team is 1 year of just the 2 of them, and that's it. They have no chance of going any further, but it doesn't look like it.
I would have given Houston another chance, but who knows what it's going to look like now.
All right, I want to move on to Joe Harris, because I think this is really interesting comparing what he got to what Christian Wood just got. We both agree Christian Wood's a really good player, but he's a big, which is kind of becoming extinct in the NBA unless you can shoot threes. He's not really known for his three-point shooting. Joe Harris, 4 years older than Christian Wood, basically has one skill. That skill happens to be the most desired trait in the NBA right now. He's a shooter. He signed a 4-year, $75 million deal with the Nets. How do you view that one, especially in the vacuum of what we just talked about with another good player who's younger getting $30 million less than he is per year?
You know, it's like you said, Joe Harris's skill set is what every team wants in the NBA right now. And with his situation in Brooklyn, you know, they look at what they want the setup of that team to be. obviously Kyrie's going to do a lot. Obviously, Durant's going to do a lot. And, you'll have other playmakers a little bit in, Caris LeVert and Spencer Dinwiddie. And then everybody else around them should be shooters. That's what Joe Harris is. And I feel like his deal, when I first looked at it, I said, damn, Joe Harris got what?
Yeah.
Sheesh. They paid that man, and they paid him pretty well. But then I really thought about it. And that's a need that the Brooklyn Nets have. Like, yes, you got two great scorers. I guess you have two solid big men in Jared Allen and DeAndre Jordan. But then what does that team need? What's like the next piece that they need? Shooters to be on the court. And Joe Harris, the stats say the guy was on Team USA. And they don't just bring any dummies to Team USA to play under, Mike Krasinski and those guys. Joe Harris is a shooter. He's a damn good shooter. And you know what? In this day and age, for what he does that is so necessary for a lot of teams and teams that are trying to get to that championship level, that contract makes sense. It makes sense. And the money...
It's a lot. It's a lot for a guy who's one skill. Yes, but I do think that teams are starting to get a little bit crazy with the money for shooters. That being said, if you're a team like Brooklyn right now that legitimately thinks, okay, we should be competing for a championship this year, whether you think that's reasonable or not, I get spending the money on something that you think that you need that could potentially put you over the top. I do get that. It's just hard for me to look at a guy who has really one skill and is kind of not great defensively to be making that much money, especially that much more than a guy like Christian Wood, again, who hasn't proven that much for that long, but is younger and was basically a 20-10 guy when he was, playing. You know who I think got the most excited about, and I'm going to, before I get to that, I do want to talk about the Bertrand's contract too. I don't know where the hell he is on here, but he signed for 4 years, $80 million. So even more than his fellow shooter, Joe Harris. And that makes me believe that the guy who's going to be most excited about all that news is this guy right here.
Oh man.
Who is going to be a free agent next year because he was undrafted. So Duncan Robinson, seeing the money for David Bertrands and Joe Harris, two guys that he shot considerably better percentage than, Duncan Robinson going to get paid next year. He's going to get paid.
He's going to make bank, man. He's going to get a lot of money.
So I think he was the most excited about all those deals. Yeah. I know Celtics fans also wanted Bertrands, but man, that is also a lot of money. Anything else interesting? Here's one that I really thought was interesting here. Ibaka to the Clippers.
I like it.
Like it? Don't like it?
I like it. Losing Montrezl Harrell was huge for the Clippers. Huge. And I understand Ibaka, he's older, obviously, he's much older than Harrell.
Yep.
He doesn't necessarily have that same energy that Harrell brings to but it's not a bad replacement. You know what? Yes, Harrell had the energy and he's a real spark plug and whatnot. And he brought that to the team, which is huge. But on the court, what was his job? Rebound, second chance points, play solid defense. That's Ibaka's job. He's just much older than Harrell. Maybe a little more quieter, but Ibaka, and he stretches the floor. Harrell doesn't do that for you.
No, Harrell can't even shoot beyond the rim.
Ibaka will grab some boards. He's not the amazing shot blocker that he once was back in his OKC days, but he can rebound, he can block, and you can stretch the floor. If you have a guy who is 6'9", 6'10", that can do that for you, oh my goodness. That's what they got in the Clippers. And I think, and especially his connection already there with Kawhi Leonard, it's just going to help. It's going to be easy fit-in for Ibaka. Yeah,
the Clippers also, sticking with them, re-signed Marcus Morris for a lot of money.
I love
4 years, $64 million. Not sure anybody thought he was going to get that much other than Marcus Morris. That's why he signed a short-term deal last offseason when he was a free agent. Remember, he signed with the Knicks.
Yeah.
After saying he was going to sign, I'm forgetting what team.
San Antonio, I believe.
Yeah, he screwed the Spurs, and that's why the Spurs had to move Bertrand. So, he really screwed the Spurs. And then signed 1 year with the Knicks, got traded to the Clippers. Apparently likes it so much in LA, and they like him so much. He gets $64 million. Good deal for the Clippers.
I think what Marcus Morris brings to the table is huge. And obviously he's not a star player. Like, he's not going to average 20 points a night. But when you think of the type of dog, having a dog on your team that, ruffle the feathers sometimes to get guys hyped and motivated, I love that aspect of Marcus Morris. I miss him on the Celtics immensely. I miss what he brought to this team.
Yeah, now they only have one dick in Marcus Smart. You need multiple dicks.
You need a few, and Morris is one of those guys, and I miss him. And I think the Clippers understand that. Tyronn Lue, who's been in the league for years, I think Chauncey Billups too is now one of his assistant coaches. They know what's up. They know the deal, and they know what Marcus Morris brings to the team and how important he is. So,
well, Kawhi and Paul George aren't getting into it they're not mixing it up with other dudes, and you need somebody to protect them.
Exactly.
To an extent. I don't know what Paul George's deal is, but that's a story for another day. Some more interesting signings as we continue along here. Rondo goes to the aforementioned Hawks. We were talking about them.
Did not see that coming at all. I
understand. He was coming home to Boston.
No, it would have been great because, again, he would have filled that role of backup point guard and leader. Like, Celtics need somebody to help lead this team.
They desperately do, yes.
Him going to the Hawks, Trae Young's there. Then they signed Chris Dunn, I believe. So now they have 3 point guards. I don't know how it's necessarily. I really thought, Rondo, I don't know what teams are possibly out there, but I thought Rondo could go somewhere for maybe a year and get a starting point guard. Because I definitely thought he could have been a starting point guard for the Clippers.
This looks like a money thing to me.
It might be, but I definitely felt like he could have gone somewhere and had a huge impact, a huge role, and still got paid. You still would have got paid. And I thought
you saw how important he was to the Lakers. He was really. Yes. He still got a lot of game left, and is a very important player on a good team. Mm-hmm. The Hawks, I think we both agree, might be an interesting team, might sneak into the playoffs, but certainly aren't going to be a team that's like the one he was on last year. Or I know the Clippers were interested. So it is weird from a fit perspective. I'm glad the guy's still getting paid nicely, but I did think he was going to go to the Clippers or maybe come to the Celtics. I think a lot of people were hoping he'd come to the Celtics.
Welcomed him with open arms.
So Rondo goes to the Hawks. I don't know why they have DeMarcus Cousins ranked that's high on here. I don't think will ever really play again. We're going to talk about Jeff Teague in just a second and Tristan Thompson. Here's what I'm going to exit this because we've exhausted the ones I really want to talk about. Who to you has done the best in free agency team-wise?
The Los Angeles Lakers. As much as
I agree.
Much as it pains me to say it.
Let me ask you this before you go on. And I know I'm interrupting you for a question I asked you. Do they have an unlimited amount of money? Does this cap space not apply to the Lakers?
Very, very perplexing how they're just.
Where does all this money come from?
Wheeling and dealing. Like, you lose Rondo. Again, we just spoke about Rondo. Huge piece.
I also feel like they have 35 roster spots.
Yeah. But, if you think about it, you lost JaVale McGee, you lost Rondo, you lost Dwight Howard. 3 guys who are huge pieces to their team. You replace Rondo with Dennis Schroeder.
Yeah.
You essentially replace Dwight with Montrezl Harrell. You got a little better and you got younger. And then, McGee's out the picture, but you're bringing Marc Gasol, he's not the Marc Gasol from the Grizzly days.
He's better than McGee.
He's better than McGee. Like, he'll stretch the floor better than McGee. He'll play defense similar to McGee. Like, he probably won't catch the lobs and alley-oops like McGee, but.
And then somehow they keep Caldwell Pope.
And gave him a lot of money.
And they also got Markieff Morris on a veterans minimum contract.
The Lakers.
These clutch sports guys, man, I'm telling you, what LeBron is a powerful dude. LeBron's a powerful dude. Harrell took way less than market value to go to the Lakers. But I don't see how you can look at their roster right now. Out goes Danny Green, like you said, McGee, Rondo, Avery Bradley. In comes Schroeder, Gasol, Harrell,
Wesley Matthews.
Wesley Matthews. I don't know how you can look at that roster and say that anything other than they got better, significantly better to a degree. You know who the top 2 finishers were for 6th man of the year last year? Harrell and Dennis Schroeder. Lakers just added both of those dudes.
That's crazy.
Same team. You got LeBron. AD is going to resign there any day now. It's just a matter of how many years he wants.
Got to give it to the Lakers.
You're keeping Kuzma, who I know Lakers fans don't really like, and they probably would ideally like to trade him, but you're keeping the same core, which is LeBron and AD, and then you've surrounded them with better talent. The only thing I could see biting this Lakers team is that they have a short offseason, and LeBron is, I know he is technically supposed to be a human being, so I'm going to assume he's going to maybe get a little bit tired. I do think it was a huge blessing for the Lakers to have all this time off between the bubble and when the season ended, because it really rested LeBron and AD. So I do think that was really helpful for what they were able to accomplish in the bubble. That's the only way I see them having any sort of struggle this year is if LeBron gets gassed, or obviously injury. But I think that they've had, it's not even close in terms of who's had the best offseason. I think it's them by a mile. And if you're a team that just won a championship, that's what you want to do if you're a fan of that team. Foot on the gas pedal. Don't be cheap out. Don't cheap out then. And I think that going back in history, this is a little bit of what happened to the Celtics in 2008 is they won the title and they let Tony Allen walk in free agency and let James Posey walk in free agency. And you didn't really have the same kind of team anymore. Yeah. Garnett got hurt. And it's important to not just rest on, we won a title. All right. The Lakers said, we won a title. Let's get better. And I think they did. They're going to be a real difficult team to knock off, especially the Warriors, who everybody thought was going to be super dangerous this year. No Klay Thompson. They're not going to be able to compete with the Lakers. So again, I think the Clippers are the best chance of beating them, and I think they've done pretty well this offseason. I do like Morris. I like adding Ibaka. And they still have those 2 star players. They do need a backup guard to Beverly, preferably one that maybe can shoot a little bit too and space the floor.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be shocked if they traded Paul George this season.
Wouldn't be shocked
if it's not working out and there's a star type player available for them. I don't know who. I could see them doing it. He's got something weird going on with him. I don't know. And I don't want to speculate off somebody that I don't know. Oh, yeah, Luke Kennard. Thank you, Greg Castillo. Clippers got Luke Kennard. That was a good pickup for them, too. Yeah, that's right. They traded Shamet to get Kennard. Kennard's a little bit better shooter. Thank you, Greg. I appreciate that. Always good to help out the people who claim to be experts who don't actually know what they're talking about. So I think they've had a good offseason. But, yeah, again, I could see them trading Paul George. They're not going to trade Kawhi.
Hell no.
Something's up with Paul George. Was just, I mean, he was dog poop in the playoffs. Absolutely terrible. So we'll see. I think that that means it's time to get into what the Celtics have done this offseason. We've talked enough about what other teams have done. And the only place to start is losing Gordon Hayward for absolutely nothing. Well, I'm sorry. They might get a trade exemption out of it. It's not over yet. They could get a sign and trade where they get a nice trade exemption.
It doesn't matter.
Every Celtics beat writer is telling me that matters a lot, Mike. I don't know.
The Gordon Hayward situation is a failure. And we can get right into it. You mean to tell me from all the reports coming out and all the rumors and everything dropping from different beat writers and people who think they have the outside scoop, you mean to tell me that Indiana is telling you, look, we'll give you what is one of the biggest needs that Celtics have? One of the biggest needs.
Yeah,
a solid big. And Miles Turner, like, yes, he's no Anthony Davis or whatnot, but he's still fairly young.
Led the league at block shots a couple years ago.
Definitely get block shots. He's probably top 10 in block shots every season. He's been in the league or something like that. He can rebound a little bit, and he can shoot. And you have Indiana telling you, take him. You can have him. And, I think it was McDermott, I believe. McDermott was the other guy. It sounded like the trade that Indiana had on the table for the Celtics was, Gordon Hayward and whatever else they put with him for Miles Turner and McDermott.
And by the way, from what I've heard, that's been on the table for a year.
And here we are in the offseason where that trade can easily happen, because it sounds to me, from all the reports I've gathered, Indiana was ready to say, deal, done deal, sure. But you mean Danny Ainge is sitting back saying, now, we just want some more. We want your leading scorer from the past season too, in TJ Warren. And we want your all-star player who went down to injury trying to work his way back, but we want him too. Danny just got greedy. A guy that you and I both really trust with this stuff, Gary Washburn, reported that from the Globe, said that's the Celtics countered with, nope, got to be TJ Warren and Turner, Oladipo and Turner. Why would the Pacers ever do that, for one? The hell, Danny Ainge.
Two, I would have, to get Turner for Hayward, I would have thrown in draft picks too. The ones that you just had and used for no real reason.
Give Indiana whatever the hell they want. I don't care. But we could have had Turner, Miles Turner, a 6'11" stretch center on the Celtics.
Young, who fits in the timeline with the young guys.
That man has got to be at least 25 right now, maybe 26. I don't know. He ain't pushing 30, I can tell you that.
No.
And he could have been on the Boston Celtics, but Danny Ainge wanted to be greedy. And you know what? I had no problem with McDermott, because what is he? A shooter. And what do the Celtics need off the bench? A shooter.
Would have been better than your favorite player in the Celtics, Semi Ojeleye.
Please. Oh, don't even say his name. Oh, my goodness.
He's back.
Danny Ainge screwed that up. And yes, a sign and trade maybe can still happen with Charlotte. What the hell does Celtics want from Charlotte? Who? What? What from Charlotte can the Celtics?
That's a trade exemption or Terry Rozier.
It doesn't make sense to me how you fumble that situation up with Indiana and not get a center who everybody's been saying that could help your team immensely.
Here's what drives me crazy. It's that you got, obviously, this is 3 max guys in 2 years, Kyrie, Horford, Hayward, that have left out the door. You get absolutely nothing in return. This one seemed like just the most obvious of all of them, because you had a trade that's been there that would have helped you fill a need in a place. Gordon Hayward wanted to go to Indiana. He lives there. Happy. He lives there. His wife lives there. Her family's there. His family's there. Pacers are his hometown team. Indiana wanted him. He fit a need for them. They need a guy who can ball handle and score a little bit, play the wing. He fit perfectly for them. So the needs matched between Hayward wanting to go there, the Pacers wanting him, and the Celtics needing a big in return. And you dicked around to the point where you got absolutely nothing if you're Danny Ainge. And here's the worst part for me. The amount of people on Twitter and social media that defend him going, well, did you see that contract Gordon Hayward signed in Charlotte? There's no way he would have gone to Indiana for less money. No, that's, first of all, total bullcrap. Everything I've heard is that, yes, he would have gone to Indiana for a little less money. He wanted to go home. 2, the reason he got offered that much money was because you waited to pull the trigger on a trade, and by the time you had negotiated yourself out of it, Michael Jordan calls Gordon Hayward at midnight and says, we're going to just give you the $120 million. We lost out on Montrezl Harrell. He decided to take a clutch sports deal and sign with the Lakers, and that we're going to now just give you all the rest of our money. This might be breaking news. I don't know if Kobe for Life 24 is telling the truth, but Stephen A. Smith reporting the Wizards or Rockets agree on a deal in principle with James Harden to the Wizards, and John Wall, Troy Brown, Morris Wagner, Thomas Bryant, 4 unprotected firsts. So that's true. That is a monster trade.
What? James Harden to the Wizards for John Wall. Well,
John Wall, I guess Troy Brown's a prospect, right? And 4 unprotected ones is the
Westbrook. The trade for Westbrook's right around the corner.
If that's the case, yeah.
If that report is true, Westbrook's trade is right around the corner.
So again, Kobe for Life 24. I like your name, even though I was never a Kobe guy when he was playing against the Celtics. But I've grown more and more appreciative as time's gone on. I don't know if your reporting is legit. I'm hoping you're being honest with us, because that is a massive deal. And if so, good for Washington for taking a swing. Good for Houston for getting 4 unprotected firsts from a franchise that has usually just been terrible. So we'll see if that's true. It's enough to shake me and Mike from our Danny Ainge rant, which was what I really wanted to do today. It was just absolutely just crap all over the Celtics front office. But that's certainly an NBA altering deal if that happens.
That's huge.
But so we'll see. Going back to the Celtics, if I can realign my brain,
please do.
We'll see if that ends up happening or not. Obviously, the Hayward for nothing is painful, but like what I was saying before we were talking about that potential trade, is that the amount of people that come to circle the wagons for Danny Ainge is just really frustrating for me. It's like people with Bill Belichick, except for Bill Belichick has won 6 Super Bowls. Danny Ainge has won 1 championship. It was over 10 years ago, and since then he's won 1 trade. Okay, he's won a very good trade. That's enough to never question the guy anymore. That's enough to not say you've had 3 star players walk on you in 2 years and you have nothing to show for it. People are going, oh, well, the biggest win of the offseason, we got Jason Tatum to sign a 5-year extension. Do you know how many people have turned down a max extension off of a rookie contract in NBA history? 0 people. That's not Danny Ainge doing a good job. That was obviously Jason Tatum is not going to spit in the face of a $195 million contract after making $6 million the past couple of years. That's just, he was obviously going to sign that. That's not a huge win for Danny Ainge or for the Celtics. That was going to happen no matter what. That was a guarantee. The major thing that has happened in the Celtics offseason is you lost Gordon Hayward, who some people didn't like the fit. He was disappointing in Boston. I can't disagree with that. But he was still an asset, and an asset that you don't recoup any value on is an asset that is wasted. And so to not criticize Danny Ainge or to come up with a million excuses for why this was okay, the Celtics will still be good. I know they'll still be good. They'll still be fine. But that doesn't change the fact that you could have been better. You had the deal in place to be better. Why not try to be better? I know this is a tweet that you liked of mine too. Too many Celtics fans are content. Well, we got to the Eastern Conference Finals. We get to the Eastern Conference Finals every year. That's the same mentality as the Indianapolis Colts have. That's what they hang banners in Indianapolis when they go to the AFC Championship game. You really want to be that franchise where you're getting happy for going to the Eastern Conference Finals and really getting your dicks kicked in by the Miami Heat, who had less talent than you? That's the bar you want to set for the Boston Celtics? You have 17 championships. The Lakers just tied you, and you're gonna make your team worse? I just don't understand how people could be okay with it, and some people are happy with it.
I've been trying to, before I was trying to find ways to say, well, Danny, he just hasn't been right, but like I've tried to keep faith and tried to say he'll get things right and right the ship and get things. Last year, my faith and confidence in Danny Ainge took probably the biggest hit possible. I know it's been a long, people's probably had gripes with him years prior to that. But last year was a real strike. Like, nah, this isn't right. With the team he's building, it isn't right. And it started last year when, you go through the offseason and guys are moving. NBA players and veterans are moving. Team going here, listen that. And Danny Ainge wants to sign players who have never played in the league before.
Oh, your guy, Vincent Poirier.
Javonte Green, who's, 30 years old, never been in the NBA before for a reason. Brad Wanamaker, another guy, 30 years old, never played in the NBA, probably for a reason. This is what you want to fill. Your bench was filled of foreign players and rookies. Your bench was full of foreign players.
And it ended up killing you in the Eastern Conference Finals. Look at the Heat's bench.
Foreign players, Heat's bench is a couple rookies who, had an impact. But veteran players who have been in the league before. So I look at that team last year and I said, okay, Danny Ainge, you're really screwing up here. Now you get into this season and you kind of have an inkling that he finally got it. Something finally clicked because the Tristan Thompson signing, thank you, a veteran player in the NBA. Jeff Teague signing, veteran player in the NBA. And you would think, okay, now he's finally understanding. You got to put a team together of guys who know what it means to be in the league and win games and try to battle, who understand and have been seasoned in the league.
We've talked about that before too with the coaching staff.
Sure,
they don't have that on the coaching staff
that's
either.
Another area. Yes, absolutely. But this Gordon Hayward situation really fumbled away and really put me over the edge of I've had about enough of Danny Ainge as the general manager of the Celtics. I've had enough.
That was for me the final straw in terms of calling for him to be gone. Because listen, and I like the Thompson signing, I like the Teague signing. They're both fine signings, and they address areas of need. But your biggest asset this offseason you lost for nothing. Your biggest potential to get better this offseason was trading Gordon Hayward, and you ended up getting nothing in return. So to me, I don't see how you could grade the Celtics offseason anywhere above a D, because that was your best chance to get better and start competing for a championship. So as much as I do like Tristan Thompson, I do like Jeff Teague, I think they'll help the team. Tristan Thompson's not as good as Miles Turner. He's not. No. Period. And Jeff Teague is fine, but
he's an upgrade to Wanamaker. He's an upgrade to Wanamaker.
But it's stuff that makes you incrementally better, not takes you to okay, they're really going to be competing for a championship. Because look at this. Milwaukee added Drew Holiday. They're better. Drew Holiday is better than Eric Bledsoe. They're a better team. The Nets are getting back Kevin Durant. There's no way they're gonna be worse. Philadelphia added Doc Rivers, who's a much better coach than Brett Brown. They also finally, for some reason, Daryl Morey is also a good GM who they hired too. They decided smartly, let's surround Ben Simmons with guys who could shoot the ball instead of playing 8 bigs. Smart. They got Danny Green. They got Seth Curry. They're going to be better. Coaching and roster construction, they're going to be better. There's 3 teams right there. We just talked about
the Hawks.
We talked about the Hawks. They're going to be better too. The Raptors took a step down. They're going to be a little bit worse.
Miami's not going anywhere.
Miami, I would think will be better by virtue of Tyler Hero will be better. So Bam Adebayo should keep getting better. I think they'll be a better team. So you maybe got slightly better with your 2 free agents, but you also lost Gordon Hayward, who I know a lot of people didn't like him here. You're better with Gordon Hayward on the team than with no Gordon Hayward on the team. That's just a fact. You don't lose an all-star a guy. I know he's made 1 all-star game, but you don't lose a guy who averages 17 points, shoots 50, 40, 90, and you get better because he's gone. That's not going to be what happens. They're still going to be good. They'll still compete to be in the Eastern Conference Finals, but they're going to have a really hard time getting over that hump that they've been trying to get over because they didn't take the best asset they had to do that in Gordon Hayward and get anything. And that kind of leads me to my problem is that with these guys leaving on a regular basis, now Hayward, Kyrie, Horford, it doesn't seem like Ainge is really plugged into the team particularly well, because it seems like he was blindsided by all those things. Because if you're a good GM and you're plugged in, you should have known, okay, Kyrie is not happy here. We should trade him at the trade deadline. Or Al Horford's looking for a lot of money. Maybe he's not going to resign here. Or Gordon Hayward wants more long-term security. We don't want to give it to him. We should maybe trade him. I just don't think that he's plugged into the team particularly well. And there's guys that are being traded too that would have been more valuable than to go to the draft. I like the guys they picked because they appealed to me as an Oregon fan. Peyton Pritchard. I don't know how much he'll help the team this year. They drafted an Israeli dude in the 2nd round, and they drafted Aaron Nesmith, who addresses the need of shooting. But for the 14th pick, you could have gotten either Landry Shamet or Luke Kennard, who I know are good NBA players. So I don't know. I feel like Danny Ainge is asleep at the wheel a lot, like not paying attention to what's going on, just focus on what he wants to do, not making calls. And this Gordon Hayward thing sort of was the last straw.
Yeah, it's like he just lacks aggressiveness. And I'm looking again, free agent got started, and teams are wheeling and dealing, moving, signing, bam, I'm trading this, moving that, signing this player. Teams putting guys, and I don't know if I feels that when Danny talks to the media, when he gets questioned, he makes it seems as if the Celtics are in a sense super handcuffed with the amount of moves that they can make or do. It doesn't seem like the Lakers are handcuffed to me, and it doesn't seem like some of these other teams are handcuffed. But Danny
look at Portland. Portland's made a ton of moves.
Danny Ainge always puts out this perception of the Celtics is like they're handcuffed with what they can do. Well, stop signing random, bringing back Ogilvy and Javonte Greens and like I don't care for.
There's a bunch of dudes on the team that they could just waive or cut. I mean, really, that wouldn't make a difference.
Why do they guarantee Ogilvy's contract? Why? Like, I don't know. Look, I get it. I didn't play in the league. I'm not a GM, but I think the majority of Celtics fans who also like me didn't play in the league and are not GMs, you can clearly look at this team and say, this is what they should probably try to do to be a better basketball team. No one gives a damn about rookies and draft picks and foreign players if you have a win now mentality. You brought it up. You're not just cool getting to the Eastern Conference Finals. That's not cool. Where is the aggressiveness to put together a championship team? Put together teams that are going to surround and help elevate Tatum and Brown. I also feel as if, I don't know if Danny just thinks like, oh, he has Tatum, Brown, two young stars, Kemba and Smart, and they're fine. That's enough to take us to the edge. Danny Ainge, it's not. Tatum's going to be great. Brown's going to be great. I think Kemba will be solid again. We know what type of player Smart is, but it's not enough to win
the Celtics
championship.
Here's their roster as it stands right now.
I can tell you half those guys on that roster that can go.
I can agree with you. I'm looking at it right now. Carson Edwards didn't show me anything last year. Taco Fall, I know fans love him. Cut him. Javonte Green, friends with Jason Tatum is probably his best attribute right now. Romeo Langford, you have to keep because he's a first-round pick. You got to see what you have there. These two guys are rookies. Don't count. Ogilvy, what do you think about him? Rookie. Marcus Smart, you keep. Tatum, you keep. Teague, you keep. Tice, you keep. Thompson, you keep. Kemba, you keep. Tremont Waters, bye.
Okay, so hold on.
Grant Williams, Robert Williams, you keep. But that opens up plenty of space.
We just listed about four guys that we said don't need to be on this team anymore. In Edwards, Ogilvy, Taco, Waters. That's four. Javonte Green is kind of fringe, but like those four guys, Ogilvy, Green, Waters, Waters, Edwards, and Taco. Bye. Yeah. That's four roster spots right there that are filled.
Yeah, they're not as tied down as Danny Ainge makes it. He uses a lot of the same excuses that Bill Belichick uses, but the thing is, like I said before, Bill Belichick's won 6 Super Bowls. It's not the same thing, but people treat Danny Ainge the same way.
I don't understand. I understand you want to sometimes have a mindset of the future and, you want to draft the right guys who can help the future out. Or you want to find the next hidden gem in Europe somewhere. Screw that, Danny Ainge. Tatum and Brown, yes, they're young guys who will continue to get better. But do you want to hope that they can get better and win a championship down the road with them 4 or 5 years from now? Or do you think you want to surround them with people who can elevate them now? I tell my friends this all the time, and this is just an overall picture to show you where the Celtics are at right now. And this is no knock on Jason Tatum because the guy's 21, 22 years old.
22, yeah.
No knock on Tatum at all. But the season ended in the bubble. They got eliminated by Miami Heat after Game 6, and he went on IG and posted a picture that said, "There's a picture of him," and the caption said, "Year 3 complete." That's his 22-year-old mindset when it comes to the NBA season.
Yeah.
You Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals, and all you want to, put out there on social media is, I made it another year. Year 3 complete. Let me go enjoy my summer.
Right. Hashtag blessed.
Hashtag blessed. No knock on Tatum or Brown. They're young guys. They're great. I love them on the Celtics. But they don't have that mindset.
I don't know that Brown is like that. Tatum is definitely like that.
They don't have
I think Brown might have a little dog in him.
I think Brown does have a little more than Tatum, but still the fact remains that these are young guys who, they've been to the Eastern Conference Finals the last couple of years, early years in their career, but they don't have that mindset like the season just ended. You just lost in the conference finals, and you're not like damn, not again.
I think like after that, Tatum was putting that Instagram out. I'm sure Marcus Smart lit his bed on fire, started breaking things.
But they're not there yet. That's why you need to have a team around them of guys who've either been there before, know what it takes to get there, or guys who have been in the league so long and haven't got there that they're next to you like, yo, we gotta break through this glass of getting to the finals.
Rookies aren't like that. Foreign guys
players aren't like that.
I mean, they're essentially, Poirier was a rookie last year. He was just, he had foreign experience. It's frustrating. The roster construction sucked last year, and they had a chance to trade for big at the trade deadline, and they didn't. And Danny Ainge seems to be pretty cautious about trading at the trade deadline. And now this whole war chest that you had of picks, he's used all of them. Why? Why did the Celtics insist on using all their picks? Last year was the most baffling of them all. This year, I was very vocal that I didn't want them to use picks. At least you got somebody that helps you in a shooter, potentially. But I don't know why they are content to just keep plugging in rookies, sending them the main, cutting them a year later. It's like just trade them for something else. Trade them for anything else.
That's it. And the graphic that was showed on draft night when it was, the Celtics turned, they were on the clock. The graphic, that was shown on the TV said over the last, I don't know, maybe since they traded Garnett and Pierce or something like that, the Celtics have had 26 first-round picks. 26. And out of those 26, the only ones that necessarily hit Tatum, Brown, Smart, and I guess Terry, but he's not even here anymore, so it doesn't matter.
He's not here, right?
So 26, I believe, I think I'm correct. I could do the research later, but it's something along the lines of 26 draft picks since 20, whenever they traded Garnett and Pierce.
Yeah, and most of them are out of the league.
And you only have three guys who have hit in Tatum, Brown, and Smart. That goes to show me right there all I need to know about Danny Ainge. It's not.
And you also, you know what? Those picks were all high in the lottery too. It's a lot easier to get somebody who's talented high in the lottery than the real showing of being a talented scout is when you can find those guys later in the draft. And he hasn't shown any ability to do that. He traded up to get Kelly Olynyk, and passed on Giannis. So, I mean, listen, a lot of teams passed on Giannis. It's not fair to just single out Ainge, but I don't see what he's done recently for Celtics fans to feel so passionate that he's the right guy to run the team. I just don't see it. Okay, he hit on Tatum and Brown and Smart, but also those guys were all projected to go around where they were getting drafted. He got Tatum at 3, and he sacked Markelle Fultz on the Sixers at 1, but the extra compensation you got from the Sixers didn't really end up getting you anything. I think it ended up getting you Romeo Langford, or I forget who the extra player. Nothing that matters.
Jet.
So
my fear is that I'm watching teams across the league load up. They know they're this close to the championship, and they load up. We've seen Miami Heat do it over the years. We've seen the Lakers are doing it over the years. The Cleveland Cavaliers. We've seen teams on the brink of knowing that they can make something happen, load up. And my fear is this Tatum Brown. I'll even throw Smart in this as well. This Tatum Brown Smart era that we're currently in is gonna walk away with nothing, and that's thanks to Danny Ainge. That's my fear of this current Tatum Brown Smart era.
And the worst part about that is that you had them on such young, cheap contracts, and you couldn't put a good enough team around them. So that's really frustrating. And I know you said this right when Hayward left. If you were Jason Tatum, are you starting to look at that and go, okay, I'm going to get my money now, but when I hit unrestricted free agency in a couple years or 4 years, maybe this team hasn't shown me that they know how to put a winning team together. I mean, we've seen that happen. You've seen that happen. Basically, that happens everywhere in the NBA except for LA. where players look and go, I don't know that this team has figured it out. I think they got a lot of work to do and a lot of stuff to figure it out, and they made it so much harder for themselves. By they, I mean Danny Ainge, by not trading Gordon Hayward when you had the chance, because they had the chance, and I don't want to hear anything other than otherwise, because he signed a ton of money in Charlotte, and the Celtics weren't going to match that. The deal was there; it's been there for a year. It's been widely reported by people who are plugged into the Celtics, Gordon Hayward, and the Pacers. Enough people where it's a valid report, not just speculation, and you get nothing for him. And so that's why, as much as I like Tristan Thompson as a fit on this team, as much as I like Jeff Teague on the fit as this team, for this team, I even like the draft picks you made, even though I wouldn't have made any draft picks. I think that this offseason has been a total failure, and I can't say anything other than that, because your best chance, I said this 10 times already, I'll keep saying it, your best chance to get better was trading Gordon Hayward. You didn't trade Gordon Hayward. You left. You got nothing in return.
Yeah, I look around the league, and it's like sometimes you come. I know trades, and the trade deadline comes up, and teams can make moves around there. But for the most part, you come out of off seasons knowing and having an idea that, okay, this team is gunning for a championship this year. The Lakers, they're coming out of this off. We're going back for the championship. The Clippers have that mindset. You can see, and fans can feel that sense around the team. The general census, if I had to take a damn survey for this Boston Celtics team during the 2020-2021 season, I don't feel as if we're making the final. I don't have a championship mindset. I don't feel it.
It doesn't. It seems like they have the.
And I know the offseason's not over yet.
Yeah, like we're good already mindset. Like we have exciting young players mindset. It's a mindset that reminds me a lot of the Red Sox, which is the mindset I absolutely hate. Is that like I see a lot of people on Twitter, Celtics fans go, let's just bring back Isaiah Thomas and Aaron Baines. I love those guys. Like,
what?
Come on. I don't love getting the Eastern Conference Finals and losing. I hate it. I want to win a championship. I don't want to have a bunch of dudes that I think are really great personalities.
No.
I don't want to sell Kung Fu Panda hats for Pablo Sandoval because he seemed like a likable guy at the time. I hate it. It's a terrible your mentality. You're the Celtics is win a championship. Period. The Lakers are about to pass you. They're about to pass you, and you're dicking around trying to get something more than Doug McDermott from the Indiana Pacers. There's no sense of urgency, Mike. It's sense of urgency.
And I'm telling you, I know, players are getting wild. Like you had the list up. I don't necessarily remember who's out there at the top of my head, but damn, you gotta be aggressive, Danny Ainge, and go after guys. Yes, are you giving out, Bogdanovich type money to play? Probably not, but I'm sure there's players in this league that are out there in free agency that would be willing to come here for the vet minimum or whatever the case was, just for a chance and opportunity. Knowing that the Celtics are almost this close to being one of those teams to get over the edge, I'm sure there's guys willing for that chance and opportunity. And, again, like we've both been saying, it just seems as if Celtics, Danny Ainge is just content. We have our core guys. We have our rookies who we're hoping will come back next year, and really carve out a role in this team. They're hoping that Langford is going to take that step, and they're hoping that Tremont Waters and Carson Edwards will make that. They're
not going to contribute. No, not going to contribute.
This is where we're at right now. So my mindset, when I look at the Celtics team, it's going to be nice to watch Tatum and Brown play, Kemba, but let's be honest. I'm a Celtics fan through and through, but let's be honest. I don't see, as of right now, as I speak, the way the team is constructed. Where's my confidence and faith going?
I think the ceiling is the same spot it's been in the past couple of years. Get to the Eastern Conference Finals and lose. I don't see how this.
That's not guaranteed.
No, it's not, because the East is better. So you might do worse. And at what point, right before we finish, this is just what I want to say. At what point are most Celtics fans going to get angry enough where they want something to change? Angry enough at the front office where they're not content with just being pretty good? When are they going to be, okay, it's been a while since we've legitimately competed for a championship. Here come the Lakers running off 2 or 3. They've passed us now. When are you going to start to have some accountability for the front office in terms of trying to win a championship?
All of them. All of Danny Ainge, Wick Grossbeck, Steve Paliuka, like
because you're not the Blazers, you're not the Rockets, you're not the Mavericks. You know, you're the Celtics with a history of winning in a city that, if you win a championship, that's the standard. Period. For the Red Sox, for the Bruins, for the Patriots, for the Celtics, the standard is winning a championship. It's not being really good. That, like it or not, fair or not, that's the standard in Boston. And the Celtics have not lived up to meeting that standard for a long time now.
Like, don't you get sick of just almost last 3-4 years? You almost made it. Almost.
I hate it. Drives me crazy.
I know there's been injuries and whatnot, but like you're this close. So you need to do whatever you can to not be this close, but build something that can potentially take you over the edge.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like that mentality is there.
No. So we'll see what they have got up their sleeves for the rest of the offseason. I'm not optimistic because now they don't really have cap space.
The well is
or anything,
dried up, man. The well is dried up out there.
So we'll see. We'll see. I know a lot of people will still be like, well, Danny Ainge always has something up his sleeve. No, he doesn't. He does not always have. Well, I mean, I guess he can always trade for more first rounders that he'll use and blow. He could do that too. So we're gonna head out now, see if any of these rumors in around the rest of the NBA are going to come to fruition. Thanks everybody for watching. Mike, where can people follow you, watch your stuff, check out your stuff, tell them where to go?
Handle on Twitter is at Mr_Mike Nice. You know, from there you could get to my Double M Media page, my YouTube page, IG page, everything going on with that at Mr_Mike Nice.
All right, awesome. Any plans for Thanksgiving? Are you doing family this year, or are you doing it by yourself?
Just immediate family is gonna get together, mom, dad, brother, and me. Gonna get some food, nice drinks, and just hang out, watch some football, and call it a day. Just happy to be with the family, man.
Yeah, it's a good thing we don't have to talk about the Patriots on this one too, because it would be just a super negative podcast.
Please.
But thanks, as always, Mike, for joining me. Hope you can come on soon. I hope you have a great Thanksgiving, and same to your family. Peace, joy, health to you and your family, my friend.
You as well, man.
All right, take care, man.